Very well, friends. We're going to start. First, absolutely mega thanks to everybody for coming here. You're already all awesome to have shown up. I noticed that it takes a lot of courage to sit on the front.
I'll come to you.
There is some perceived distance between you and the professor. So actually, this is a perfect moment to take a picture because this is the whole reason why we're doing this. So I hope that in the future, for future talks that you see that Artemis is involved, you have the safe feeling of sitting. You see, it's already working.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, so.
Like he knows me better. He's less scared. I hope.
But imagine. So thank you, CD2. So here's the deal with these things. We wanted to find a way of lowering the barrier between basically everybody and professors. I know that being in grad school can be scary, but they're humans, and most of them are extremely nice. And we're going to start this with Artemis. The idea is that it's going to be a continuing series, very success. I took me and Tabitha. I want to publicly thank Tabitha because she helped a lot as well. We tried to bring good snacks. So if this works, you're going to be hearing from us on this series every month, and we're going to bring different professors for all of you to meet. So today we have Artemis. She's going to talk about many things that she wants to share with you all. And after that half hour, roughly, we're going to go and see some very cool stuff in the experimental part of EFRI. For some of you, that is routine. For many of us, me included, I have never seen any of that in my life, so I'm going to enjoy it. So feel free to ask questions. I guess interrupt, have discussions. This is going to be informal. It is for you to take your things away and become best friends with us. I stop talking. A million thanks for agreeing to be in the first. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Pablo, and thank you, Rachel, for joining us. And thank you all for coming. Yes, Pablo said we've been trying different things over the years to create kind of more of a more open communication between graduate students and professors. This can be anything from just chatting in the hallway, talking about football. Don't talk to me about football. I don't know anything about that. But also, I see it also with my students. Second year comes and you want to form your committee and you don't really know anyone other than your advisor and maybe the professors that were teaching your classes. So hopefully through this series, we will create a more broader mentoring network. That's the official term for this. So this is why we're doing this. Now, since this is the first one, we chatted both with Rachel and with Pablo about what should be in the presentation. So we came up with some topics. If after this you feel that there was something that you wanted to know about, please, you can ask me today. But in general, please let us know. And for the next time, we can give instructions for the next people who come up. Okay, so the first, in general, the plan for today is that I'll tell you a little bit about my career, how I got here. I'll tell you a little bit about my hobbies. So again, maybe it's not football, but it's maybe something else that we can talk about. I'll tell you a bit about my research. I don't go deep, just kind of a high level and give an example. Again, maybe we can find some common research topics that we can talk about. And then in the end, I have a little bit of a perspective, again, from my own experiences, and I wanted to just share. Everyone has different experiences. We absolutely, even if it's, women in science, not all women have the same experiences. It can be, I'm a woman and I am from Cyprus. I have different experiences, so on and so forth. So I'll share mine. Maybe some are common, maybe some are not, but maybe it gives you a little different perspective. And then after all of this, what we thought it would be nice was to get whoever wants to join just to the lab outside here where my detector is parked, Sun. So if you haven't seen Sun, join, and then you'll see Sun and see what it looks like. I see Majdi shaking his head. You better know Sun very well. Okay, so that's the plan. So I said already, I am from Cyprus. If you don't know where Cyprus is, then this is a map of Europe, and Cyprus is a little island country over there. It's not part of Greece, so this is important information to say. A lot of people think that Cyprus is just one of the Greek islands, It's not, it's its own country. We do speak Greek mostly. There's a lot of trouble in Cyprus. Right now, the island is split in half, and half of it is Turkish or occupied by Turkey. If you ask us, I think Turkey sees it in a different way. There's a lot of trouble in the area. But I am from the Greek part. That's why the Greek name. We speak Greek, but it's a different dialect than mainland Greece. So when we speak, they don't understand us. When they speak, we do understand. That's how it works. So yeah, anyone else here from that part of the world, from Europe? There we go. We have some Europeans. Other, it's not quite Europe, but neighbors here, we have Africa and kind of Asia. Anyone from that area? I think at some point we had students from Lebanon, and Lebanon is the closest country to Cyprus. We're really, really close. Okay, so after Cyprus, at the time when I was graduating high school, that was 1997. You can do the math. I was born 1980. 1997, Cyprus did not have a university. Now it does, but at the time it didn't. So almost everyone from Cyprus would go to Greece for their studies. So I went to northern Greece, Thessaloniki, for my studies. The main reason is because that's free. We speak the same language, and it's free to go to university there. You just need to pass their exams, which is not easy if you don't speak Greek. So yeah, I went there for 4 years, did my undergrad, major in physics. The universities in Cyprus are a little different than universities here. So you dive into a major, you don't take any other classes, it's only physics for 4 years. And you actually do all of the physics in the first 3 years. And then in the 4th year, you can actually choose a specialty already. So already as an undergrad, I took, I don't know, 6, 7 nuclear physics classes, applications, detectors, astrophysics, what else? Accelerators, reactors, it's labs. We did everything in nuclear physics because it's so much more focused. So after Greece, after Thessaloniki, I went to Athens. Athens, Greece is where I did my PhD. It's the only place in the whole region, the Balkan region there, that has an accelerator. So it's a 5 megavolt tandem accelerator. If anyone is familiar with the lab at Ohio University, it's the identical machine. Athens, Ohio has the identical machine as Athens, Greece. And they are the only 2 machines in the world.
Is that a coincidence by the name?
I think so. I think so. That's yeah, 5 megavolt tandem means that they're accelerating protons or alpha particles, maybe some lighter elements, all stable up to a few MeV, and that's it. So it's a very different world than what we have here. So after my PhD, I moved here. I came straight here as a postdoc. So 2007, I've been here already 17 years. I came as a postdoc. The plan was to stay for a couple of years and then go back to Europe. I was at the right place at the right time because 2008 was the announcement for EFRIB that EFRIB is coming here. Immediately, there were 3 faculty positions that opened, and that was Sean Lidick, Hiro Iwasaki, and me who got those 3 faculty positions, and we are all still here. So yeah, after I have Michigan State, obviously, and over the years, I went just through the ranks. So as I said, I started as a postdoc, assistant professor, associate professor, full professor. I served as associate director for education and outreach for some time. For those of you who are newer, Heiko has this role. For the more senior of you, maybe you remember Hiro doing that. So I was doing that, having that role before Hiro. At the time, that was associate director for education and outreach. So I was doing both. After Hiro took over, I kept the outreach. So I keep going with the outreach for the last 8, 9 years. So now the new title is faculty outreach advisor. So basically I oversee the outreach activities of the lab. And I also have the role of FEA. This means faculty excellence advocate. This is a role within the university. There's 1 FEA per college. EFRIB being the equivalent of a college has its own FEA. And the role is to oversee recruiting and mentoring for junior faculty. So we have monthly meetings. This was something that started, I think, about 20 years ago, with the goal of recruiting more diverse pool of candidates, and then retaining them. and fortunately continues. We have monthly meetings, we come up with ideas, there's policies, and so on and so forth.
So that implies things like there's going to be a faculty opening, or that the
Yes, so if there's a faculty announcement, I will meet with the search committee at the first meeting and just kind of go through some common practices. Search committee members all have to do a specific training for search committee training. But as soon as the list of candidates are in, deadline is, we're past the deadline, then I will take a look at that pool of candidates and say, hey, you only have white male. This clearly is not, you didn't try hard enough, try again. Usually, I think today, this is not a problem so much. We still try to do the best that we can, but I think maybe 20 years ago, this was a bigger problem. And then after me, I'm not the final step. After me, it goes to university, Central University, Office of Inclusion. I think it changes name every 2 years, but it goes there and they also check. And they have ways to check what is the community, the available pool of candidates, and what is the diversity in your own pool. And then they decide that if it's good or not. So there, a lot of this came from the FEAs over the years. A new thing, just a parenthesis, just a random piece of information. SFEA, I was part of a committee now, that university committee, that is called Preventing Passing the Harasser. And I found it very interesting. I didn't have too much to contribute. There were lawyers and HR people and so on, but I found it very interesting to be there. This is the idea that there's someone at another university, they're accused of something or they did something, and then they just quit their job and they come here and they apply for a position. And how do you make sure that you don't just get those people in? And so it's kind of implementing policies and procedures that when someone applies here, that we have a way to check. And you can't catch everything, but because there are universities, this goes too much. But there are universities that if someone does something and the person quits, then they close the case. They don't complete the investigation, and then you can't learn anything. MSU actually doesn't close the case. They will complete the investigation and they will have findings or conclusions. Parenthesis closed. This is not relevant. It's just random pieces of information.
yeah,
Yeah.
I actually saw that happen. And this person then went to California and continued to harass people there.
Yeah.
It was a huge
Yeah.
problem.
They do it at one place, they will do it again. Yeah. Well, that's the question again. Is there anyone from this part of the world now that we have? Okay. So that's kind of my my career and how I ended up here. It is kind of luck to a large extent to have an opening, a position opening that matches your skills and your interests. And so, as I said, I happened to be here at the right place at the right time. Another random piece of information, I was not planning to apply for faculty positions at the time because I was eight months pregnant. I interviewed 8.5 months pregnant, and then I went on maternity leave. So I don't know, I didn't see any other candidates come through. I don't know what happened. And then I was at home when I got the offer. And so I only applied to one faculty position, and that's it. And that's clearly not the case. The other one is when it was a straight line. Sometimes you see people describing their careers. For me, it was a straight line. I finished my PhD, I got a postdoc, I got a faculty position, and that was it. A lot of people will do multiple postdocs, they'll go to industry and come back, they'll get a teaching position and come back. There are many ways to have a career. This is what mine looks like. I actually didn't. I had a 3-week-old baby at home, so I celebrated by trying to get some more sleep. It's that's maybe a discussion for a different time, but that first year with a new baby and a new faculty position was really rough. Teaching for the first time and not sleeping and all of that. It was fun. Anyone here with a child? No, Zach. Okay, and oh, there you go. Yeah, I know these days we have a lot of graduate students who were fathers, mothers. We also have diversity in that. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say about career. Are you curious? Do you want to know anything else about how I got here or being here? Yes, that is a good question. And some of that I was going to touch upon later in terms of mentors and whatnot. I was a student who was very good in math and science and physics. I was not very good in like history, languages and whatnot. So that was kind of my path. Growing up in Cyprus, it's again, it's something, it's amazing how your family and your background influences you, right? So for the generation of my parents was a time that they just came out of a war and they were lucky to have any job at all. So then my generation was the first time that you could, choose what you wanted to do. And so we're already lucky to do that. But it was also important. The influence from the parents is you have to do something that you get a good job, a stable job, so you're comfortable. So the kind of push from my parents was more towards teaching positions. And I like that. As you can see, I can talk a lot and I enjoy that. But initially I was thinking maybe elementary school teacher. Then as I was growing, I liked physics too much and math too much. And I was thinking, oh, maybe a math or physics teacher. So I ended up with physics. I don't remember exactly between math and physics, but I liked more the applied thing. So I ended up with physics. And then for nuclear physics, it was somehow it just clicked when I did modern physics for the first time. I just loved that field. Just the history of all those discoveries and whatnot. I just loved that. And I just wanted to take more classes on that and just kept going that way. And I like the experimental aspect. So we had a nuclear physics lab and I loved that experimental aspect. And I liked astronomy, I liked space and that application, but not so much the observational astronomy or models. I really liked the nuclear physics component. So when I discovered that there was a field that could combine both, that was kind of, I was sold on that. I also had a period that I was thinking about doing medical physics, again, kind of thinking more of how to help give back to society. And I took a class and they took us on a field trip to a hospital and I almost passed out. So that was not my field of research. So I went back to astrophysics and I'm happy I did that. I don't remember if that answers all of your questions. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. Yeah, that's funny because that's true for the National Technical University. The professors there, this is just how they think. I did not go through that. I went straight to the lab to Demokritos. And there it was one researcher, Harisopoulos, and that's what he was doing. So I got a fellowship to go to the lab, and from the lab, because again, it's a lab, it's like EFRIB, you need to have an educational institution to get a PhD. So we just happened to connect to the university. So I know exactly what you're talking about. For me, it was the opposite. It was, oh, nuclear astrophysics is everything. Nuclear structure is like, we don't care about nuclear structure. So it's amazing how your professors and the environment where you kind of grow up or you get initiated in research, it can affect you very much. So I came here because I wanted to get any kind of experience with radioactive beams, because that's not what I had in my PhD. And I ended up in a nuclear structure group with Mona. And I love that aspect. I love the shell model. I mean, that's a lighter, dealing with lighter nuclei, and I could just kind of play with the protons and the neutrons within the new shell, and I could understand what it means. And it took some time to overcome those biases that were built in me that, oh, reactions is the most important in astrophysics and it's not structure. So yeah, it's different. Anything else? So professional, I'll start with that. It was a positive shock. So I was going, again, to come back to this at the end, that in Greece, a lot of what we call, now diversity and, inclusion and whatnot, it was different 20 years ago. I don't know, maybe it improved now, but 20 years ago, it was definitely different. So I was the only woman in my graduate program in my year, at least in the lab, in the nuclear physics group. And I remember everyone was kind of a little skeptical in the beginning. or then they were very impressed that I was doing the exact same thing that the male graduate students were doing, and like, oh wow, you're doing that. And it's like, but he did it, and you were not so impressed. But anyway, taking the credit. So, and then the other thing is that I didn't have a very good relationship with my advisor. He still is to this day a very intense personality, very, you know, bursting out easily and so on. So you're kind of walking on eggshells not to upset him and things like that. So my first shock coming here is that first no one interacted with me in a different way because I was a woman. Everyone is professional, and at least I didn't feel it. And I ended up in a group with the Mona group with a mentor, a postdoc mentor, who was very nice, very supportive. That's the word. And so I had a very positive impression. The postdoc years, I think, for me was almost the happiest. I don't want to say the happiest because I'm still happy here and doing great things, but it was a period that you don't have any distractions. Don't worry about classes. I was in a good group. I didn't have to teach. I didn't have to do committees. It was just doing research, and I just loved that time. Personally, again, a positive one coming from Athens, where you're driving down the road and there's people cursing at you and yelling at you from every direction. I remember coming here, and the first weekend I was on campus, there was construction, and driving in the wrong direction on the road. And then someone comes from the other side and just stops, rolls down the window and says, "Excuse me, do you know that you're going in the wrong direction?" And in Greece, in Athens, it would have been, "Oh, where are you going?" So yeah, that was, these are the two examples that come to mind. Okay, yeah, I don't think it was because the lab has done this a million times, and they were very supportive, and they organized everything. So they would tell me, "Oh, we need your CV, we need this, we need that," and they took care of it. So I didn't have an issue with that. Okay, I'm moving on to outside of physics. So I have two girls, Miki and Katerina. Miki just turned 15 and she's starting to learn to drive, which is scary. And Katerina is 10, she's turning 11 next month. And most of the activities I do outside of physics involve them. It's a lot of driving around to their activities. They definitely keep me busy, but they're both very good girls and we do a lot of fun things together. We also have a dog. This is Fibo, and he's also turning 7 next month. And despite the fact that he's 7, he has so much energy. It's amazing. So he's just running around the house, up and down, left and right, and we have to go for runs and long walks to spend that energy. But other than these guys, personally, I love swimming. I was a competitive swimmer in high school, and I still try to go every other day or so, try to go swim here for a bit. I was serious about my swimming in high school. I was the national champion in Cyprus. Cyprus is a small country, so if you look at my times, they would not be competitive here, but still, for Cyprus standards, I was pretty good. I still spend a lot of time at the pool because Miki is a swimmer. She's very good. She passed my times already, my personal best ever. And so we're running around the state to swim. In grad school, I learned to snowboard, and I love snowboarding. I don't go as much as I would like because Michigan is flat, so we have the snow. But this is a picture from from a conference in Italy, and they have a big gap in the middle of the day for people to go skiing and snowboarding. Nice conference. Yeah, I started to learn to snowboard in grad school, and you'll think in Greece there's no snow, so we had to drive 3.5 hours to go up to I don't remember now the altitude, but some high mountains to find snow. So I remember especially the last year of my grad school, I was writing my thesis 6 days a week. I was writing, and one day we would wake up at 5 a.m., drive 3 hours for when the resort would open, snowboard for whatever, it's 8 hours, and then come back because we also, graduate students, couldn't afford to stay overnight and so on. So I love snowboarding. I wish I could do more. What else? Ping pong. Finally, I've been asking for a ping pong table in this lab for 15 years, and we finally have one. So, anyone plays ping pong? So we should play. I actually wanted to ask, are there any other swimmers in the room? Zach? Okay. And are there any other people snowboarding? No, no common. Okay. Yeah, we should definitely. Oh, okay. But again, I was looking for pictures to show to put on this this talk. This is from another conference. This is in Trento. If you haven't been, if you get a chance, you should definitely go. This is in the middle of the mountains in northern Italy. It's a tiny little town, but amazing food and ice cream and whatnot. And they have this theory institute, and they organize workshops all the time. And in that space, you know, when you have coffee breaks, they have a ping pong table. I think they have a pool table. They have a piano. So it's I mean, it's not very much around the area anyway, so they have to entertain their people. But it, I see Heiko going, yes. So, yeah. So, oh, I'll be very disappointed if I go and the table is not there. I think it was there. I don't remember when was the last time I was there. I tried to run. I realized early on that the muscles you use for swimming are not the same as the ones for running, so I couldn't run. I did a couch to 5K up to get me to 5K. During COVID, I kind of practiced it a lot, and I was trying to get to a half marathon. I made it to a third marathon, and then I had an injury, and I'd never made it more. So now I'm starting to go up again. Any runners? Okay, so there's some. What else? Backgammon. I know Costas cannot play backgammon. Anyone else? So there you go. So in Cyprus and in Greece, this is kind of the most common game. You go to any coffee shop, there, at least they used to have just a pile of backgammons, and you can just play it all the time. So this is a common one. This picture was, I was on vacation in Jamaica a couple of years ago and brought my own backgammon, and everyone was asking, what is this thing and what is this game? So it was strange. For that part of the world, it was not common. What else do I have here? And sometimes with my daughters, we like to bake. So this was Mickey's eighth birthday cake. If I'm honest now, I do less of this because Mickey likes it more and she takes care of it and I don't do, but yeah. And I also like to cook. I like to eat good food. That's more or less what I do other than physics and driving a lot. And traveling, I like to travel. I liked it less when the kids were younger and it was kind of difficult to travel, but now as they get older and they're more used to it, I enjoy it again. We are lucky in that sense in the job that we have, that you can I just went to South Korea 6 months ago for a conference. I had never been. That's pretty different and impressive. Anything else you guys want to know? Oh, any bakers in here? I know Heiko. Did Heiko leave? I know Heiko bakes. Yeah, there you go. Cool. Well, moving on to the next part, which is the science part. So I'll tell you a little bit about what I do oh, I missed one, diving. Yes. I haven't been too much, but I loved it the few times that I went. I loved it, so I want to go more. Anyone else scuba diving? It was a lot of fun. What's that?
I'm scared of sharks.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a shark?
No. What else is going on here? Okay. Oh yeah, before diving into science, I wanted to share one more thing. So as I mentioned, I kind of have more or less two big roles and then a lot of other smaller things. And one is I oversee the outreach activities of the lab, and the other one is science. So I'll start with outreach. I love to do outreach, people of all ages and different ways to do outreach. So I tried to list here a bunch of things that I do personally, and the next slide is more about the lab, but I've written popular science articles for this, for the conversation. If you're not familiar with it, you don't get paid to, to do this, but it's a free online publication, and the difference from everything else is that anyone can go copy paste that article and post it on their own website. So articles that we wrote from the lab got reposted in, I don't know, Newsweek and Washington Post and things like that. So you kind of get more of a readership this way, and they keep trackers. So they have trackers on their articles and they keep track. So I think we're now at 6 articles with different people around the lab. And we have something like 300,000 readers from those articles. So it's some work. It's not huge articles, but this is kind of a way to get the word out about science in the lab. A few years ago, a few of us had media training here in the lab, and this is, when Karen gets a request from a local TV channel, oh, you have this event, or we want one of your scientists to come talk to us, then they choose from the pool of people that did media training. So I was one of them, and every once in a while show up in TV, radio, I did podcasts. In the beginning, it's all very, very scary. It's like, oh, there's a camera in your face and you have to say something coherent. But over time, once you do it a few times, then it becomes easier, like everything. I've done public lectures. And I did start a blog at some point. It's still there. It's just kind of nuclear science topic, various nuclear science topics, just small things. I haven't updated it in a while, but the articles are still there. People can look at them. And these are just pictures from various outreach events. I like the one with Spyrou. He looks very impressed. And I have no idea to this day what this owl is that just showed up at one of our outreach events. What's that? Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. I think my favorite is this one. There was WKAR, PBS Kids. They had this curious about careers, and they wanted to do one about a nuclear science, nuclear physicist. So they came here. It's like a 10-minute thing with this 11-year-old girl asking me questions. But then all of my kids' friends watch that, and they go and they say, "Oh, we saw your mom on TV." So I think that gives me a lot of points with the kids. No, I've never done that. I've done, this one is, they have a science fair every year, and we'll bring the nuclear smashing there. And this is my 2 girls a few years ago, and they're always helping me, and they're happy to show off to their friends. It's funny to see them and say, you know what atoms are? And they make up everything. It's in the floor and it's in your butt, and they just start like that. I don't have to do this, you know. Okay. And as I said, I oversee the lab's outreach activities. I see my role as there are other people who do outreach 100%, and they do a great job. I don't really need to intervene. Sometimes there's new ideas. Some of them work, and some of them need a little bit of adjustment to kind of make them in line with what the lab is doing. So that's kind of my role, is helping people do the great job that they're already doing. We have Zach here already, who runs everything. I've tried to put a long list there. We have a new program. It's called Trailblazers in the Sciences. This is a high school and middle school kids competition where the kids submit a 3-minute video highlighting kind of a trailblazer in nuclear science, but they have to come from an underrepresented group. So this is the idea, is that for the kids to do a bit of research and to identify people that maybe look a little bit like them, and it's not Einstein in every video. We have an artist in residence. Anna Besserell is running that, but I'm the line manager of Zach and of Anna and of Chandra. So kind of through that, I oversee those activities. Two that I've been running is the Nuclear Science Summer School. I started this, I don't remember now, 8 years ago through, it was one of my NSF career grants. You have to have a large outreach component, and so that was my outreach component. And now it's done by the whole nuclear astrophysics group. So Hendrik is organizing it this year. So this is for undergraduate students. I think some of you might be involved in some of the activities or just go out to dinner with the students. And this is just bringing students, undergraduate students here who might not have a nuclear physics class at their own schools. And this is a way for them to learn about nuclear physics and consider it. And then the Isotopes in Motion is the dance. We do a lot of things lately in outreach where we connect with some kind of art, because we have seen that this way we expand our audience. We will always get the people who are interested in physics. We will always get them here, and they'll come for a tour, and they come by themselves. But the ones who don't even know about it, they're scared about physics, but they might be interested in dance. And so if they go see a dance performance about physics, then they kind of learn a little bit more. There's a lot of things going on in the lab in that respect. I think I have pictures here. Yeah, this is from the Trailblazers, just snippets of the videos that the kids made. This is from, I think, the first NS Cubed, and these are from the dance events. We did take a lot of footage in the tunnel with two dancers dancing in the tunnel. Now we're not allowed to take video, I think, in the tunnel anymore, but that was there. Here, Zach and I are both dancing. I don't remember what we're doing and why, but that's there. And this is, I think, from the actual. There is, I'll advertise, there is a new Isotopes in Motion coming up in the fall, and we'll be sending out invitations or requests for volunteers. You can either just help with the outreach activities we do around that event, or you can even be in the show. I think last time we had 3 graduate students be in the show. You don't have to know how to dance. They were kind of showing with their hands, I think, kind of pretending to explain a physics idea to the dancers, and then they would take it and kind of run with it. I think that's it. Questions about outreach? Yes. Okay. Okay. Maybe I'll do this in 5 minutes. I'll go very quickly. Again, it's not my goal to lecture on nuclear astrophysics, and I know, Rachel, you also need to leave at some point, and thanks for coming. Yes, so my field of research is nuclear astrophysics, experimental nuclear astrophysics. So just to put the whole thing together for those who might not know about it, the idea is that, like in any physics field, you have some kind of observable. In our case, it's observations from stars. Maybe it's through a telescope or through meteorites, whatever observables you can get from stars. Or it can be, this is abundance pattern, the full abundance, for isotopes and so on. This comes mostly from the solar system, not mostly, almost exclusively from the solar system. So you have the observables. You have to create a model that reproduces these observables. And then this model, I mean, it's difficult to, the model itself is difficult. Stars are very complex spaces, and there's a lot of physics going on just describing the star itself. But then there's also a lot of complexity in the nuclear physics that goes in it. So this is where we come in. This is the nuclear physics input that goes into these models, trying to understand our observables. It can be nuclear physics from theory or from experiment, and obviously I'm an experimentalist and I sit on the experimental side. So on the experimental side, there's a million different things that could be useful. So that's why it's important to work with modelers to identify the one that matters for that particular stellar environment that is important to you. And so I just show here some examples of different things that we're working on. My group works on nuclear reactions and on beta decay properties. There are many, many, many different processes that are involved in nuclear astrophysics, and I'm not going to explain all of them, but I'll just show, I want to make one point. So this picture here, with stellar fusion producing nuclei, the lighter nuclei, and then there's 3 processes that make everything else. This was introduced in the 50s by this nice group of people. And up until maybe 10 years ago, this was kind of enough. And we could explain all the observations or most observations with this, and we didn't need anything else. And the field is now changing completely because all of a sudden there are new observations because we have better telescopes, and there are new observations that tell us that this is not enough. We need something more to explain new observations. Some of it we can still explain, obviously, with this, but there are new observations that we can't. So that's the idea behind all of a sudden you might go to conferences or talks here and you see new processes popping up at different locations. It's because we need them. I think 30 years ago, some of these were already introduced, but it was kind of academic. We didn't need any new processes, but you know, it's for the theorists in the group as a theorist, I can model that, so why not model it even if I don't need it? But now we come back, and 30 and 40 years ago, we say, oh, remember 40 years ago when we modeled that? Now we need it. So it's kind of a little bit how it goes. So my group works on this I process. Ask me if you want to know more on the P process and on the R process mostly. What's that? That's a very good question. Good observation there. The P process is a process where you have photo disintegration reactions. So it's during a supernova explosion, and you have to already have the seed nuclei produced by the other processes. And then the P process, it will be just exciting those nuclei, and then they kick out protons and neutrons. So they go, you know, kicking out neutrons go that way, and kicking out protons and alpha particles go downwards.
Why not call it like the gamma process? Photons.
That's also a good question, because these guys called it the P process because they thought it was proton captures. It was later that it was discovered that, you know, proton captures on these heavy nuclei will not work, and it's actually gamma. So some people call it the gamma process, but the traditional name is a P process. You can also say it's P process because it makes the P nuclei. It's the proton-rich nuclei. Maybe. I was going to go through a specific example with the neutron captures, but for the sake of time, I will not. I just want to get to the experimental stuff. There we go. So we'll go see sun for those who are not familiar with sun. This is sun. Sun stands for summing sodium iodide. Sodium iodide is the material. It is a single crystal. It was developed as a single crystal. It's 16 inches in height and 16 inches in diameter, so it's not that big actually. And then the company that produced it cut it in 8 segments. So there's 4 segments here at the top. You can kind of imagine a semicircle kind of cut in 4 pieces, and then 4 at the bottom. And then each of these is read by 3 photomultiplier tubes, all 3 reading the same volume. So any kind of light that is produced inside that volume propagates through all directions, and then we just collect it with the photomultiplier tubes to record the light. So sodium iodide is very hygroscopic, so the whole thing is enclosed and it cannot see air at all, so we don't really touch it. We try not to hit it too hard and not break it, because it will get destroyed if any air goes in. Lately, I didn't put a picture up here, but lately you might have heard about Sun++. We just commissioned it a few months ago, and we basically get half of Sun lifted up and then fill the space between the 2 halves with new detectors. Some of it are cerium bromide, which have a better timing resolution and energy resolution, and the rest is sodium iodide because it's cheaper, and it's just we need to fill the rest of the space.
How are you going to open
it? That's a good question. I didn't say it. So the 2 halves, you kind of see it over there. The 2 halves are enclosed in separate enclosures. And then depending on what we need to measure, if it's a reaction, then we put a target at the center of Sun, and then we shoot the beam on the target and look for the reaction product. If it's a beta decay, then we typically put another detector like this guy at the center of Sun, and we implant the beam onto that detector. So that detector will detect the beta particles coming from the beta decay in coincidence with the gamma rays coming inside. We came up with a new detector design. I don't have it here, but it's in the Sun Lab, and I can show it anytime, or ask one of my students. I'm sure they can show it to you. we call it the fiber detector, because the space over there is less than 2 inches and it's not enough space to put very much in it. So we put a plastic scintillator detector for detecting those beta particles, but we couldn't put like photomultiplier tubes like this one at the center of sun. So what we did was embed the plastic scintillator with fiber optics and carry that light out into this box where there's 2 photomultiplier tubes that we can read the signal. This is all homemade, designed and homemade. It was actually at Hope College. We have a collaborator there, and he and his undergraduate students developed this whole. And we've used it for many experiments. There's also a tape transfer system that I think I will stop because we will need to move on. This is my group. You probably recognize a lot of the faces here. And we do a lot of stuff from analysis, running experiments, simulations, a little bit of theory, depending on student interest, sometimes more, sometimes less. Everyone has a different project, but there's a lot of collaboration and a lot of common themes within that. So I think students and postdocs and me, we all work together, but everyone has their own. And we're running out of time, so I think, let me choose one. I kind of mentioned a lot of these things. I think I will mention 2 things that I wanted to say. I'm standing here. I am 44 years old. I have done a million things in my life, and I'm pretty comfortable to give talks. You know, just tell me the topic, I'll give the talk. But I'll say that when I was at your age, my biggest fear was standing in front of an audience and giving a talk. So if you're not feeling comfortable, I'll say that it's just a skill. You need to develop it and you need to practice. I practiced hours in front of the mirror, especially with English being a second language. I did not feel comfortable standing in front of an audience if I didn't know exactly every word that I had to say, because I couldn't trust myself that the right word would come at the right time. That changed when I started to teach, because then it was a lot of practice every single day. Being there for an hour, that was a lot of practice. So that helped me a lot. But I'm just saying that, you know, I got it as a comment from a few students who felt comfortable to talk to me about this, is that they say, oh, you look so confident, you look so comfortable. And that's not, like, it hasn't always been the case. You kind of develop it. Sometimes you get comments. That's another thing I want to say. Sometimes you get comments that make you feel that you're not good enough. I had a boyfriend who told me he doesn't think I'm good enough to do a PhD. I had a partner who, every time I did something good, they were so jealous, they were trying to put me down. So there's always people, not even colleagues, there's always people in your life who will try to do that. And I don't have good advice other than just believing in yourself. And if this is something you want to do, you should just keep doing what you want and not what other people want. And then I'll say this is kind of why we're doing this, the mentoring thing, finding mentors, even if it's not your official advisor, maybe it's another person that you connect with, that you can just have a chat in the hallway and they will say something that helps you. I think this is very important. I think I would not be here if I didn't have my postdoc mentor. He was an amazing person and very supportive. And there were times that I had other people commenting that I was not doing well, and he kind of gave me perspective. He would tell me if I was doing something wrong, but he will also remind me that I was doing a lot of good things. So finding good mentors, peer mentoring, postdocs, faculty, whoever you can find, and just getting that information and that advice is useful. I think I'll stop here with those few things. You want to see sun? Let's go see sun.